All right, so Luka Modrić is the Ballon d'Or winner with a total of 3 goals and 8 assists throughout the Champions League run that went all the way to the finals, his entire league with La Liga, and making it to the World Cup finals. So he maximized the amount of games he could play with his opportunities and finished with 3 goals and 8 assists. And I know a lot of people say, well, goals and assists are not the marker of a great season. They're just, really, Luka Modrić stands for all of the intangible items that do not make it on the screen. Okay, let's think about that. So, the biggest accomplishment he had was making it to the Champions League final, where he was an integral part. But as far as actually winning, he only scored 3 goals, 8 assists, and compare that to Ronaldo, who was on the exact same team, but within 44 games, he had 45 goals, meaning he scored more than a goal every game throughout the year, and he had 8 assists. So Ronaldo, who, mind you, I don't believe should have won the award either, but he had 45 goals and 8 assists. So he was just as integral in creating goals for others as Luka Modrić was as a center midfielder. Then take a look. Messi, I don't even know how he gets pushed down to the 5th place, but then again, when journalists in France are creating the top list of 30 as well as controlling the narrative of the players, you are going to see a Mbappe and Griezmann ahead of Messi. But let's look at Messi's stats. Messi had 41 goals, 16 assists, and 29 man of the matches through Champions League, La Liga, and in the World Cup. Matter of fact, he had 22 man of the matches alone in La Liga play, which shows me that none of these people voting actually watch La Liga. They must be primarily focusing on the World Cup to determine that Luka Modrić is the best player of the entire year. And the more I think about it, the more it blows me away. I'm thinking, are we really voting on intangibles? If we are, then Messi should clearly win. Now, if we're dealing with just the World Cup, right, where you have to take a look at Luka Modrić and decide, okay, Luka Modrić made it all the way to the finals, and his team, he brought his team all the way to the finals. First of all, saying that Luka Modrić was the most integral part of Croatia would be discounting many of the other players on his team. First of all, his midfield let alone, he has Rakitic. He also has a great offensive line. Their defenders are solid. And not to mention, are we all forgetting that in the round of 16, Luka Modrić missed a penalty kick in extra time to win the game? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Luka Modrić is a solid player. I think he is due his respect from the international community. But if you're going to say that he was the Ballon d'Or winner, he was also the player of the year, the FIFA player of the year, for running alongside Real Madrid to a Champions League final, along with Rafael Varane, who was in the World Cup final and beat them, as well as Cristiano Ronaldo, who had more goals than games he played. If you're going to say that, then you're completely discounting the fact that in the World Cup, he had a solid team around him and missed a penalty for the win that could have in the knockout round of the World Cup. I'm just very confused. And I'm also very confused as to how Griezmann and Mbappe ranked higher than Messi. Mbappe, yes, I get it. He's in France. He had 29 goals in 51 games and 14 assists. Both those numbers are below Messi, right? So if we're really talking about impactful players, he had less goals and less assists than Messi. And Griezmann, 33 goals and 11 assists. This is including World Cup goals. So to be clear, Messi had more assists at 16 than any of the other top 5 as a forward. So if we're talking about skills, we're talking about, how well they do, I am just absolutely blown away that this could even be a reality where Lionel Messi is pushed down to 5th place because of why? Maybe he didn't bring his team as far in the World Cup. If that is the case, that we're really only voting on the World Cup because it's a World Cup year, then why is the winner somebody who didn't win the World Cup? Why is the winner someone who missed a go-ahead goal in extra time when his team was tied 1-1, only to be bailed out in a penalty shootout? All of this is confusing to me. All of this seems like semantics. All of this seems like the World Cup started and the journalists started talking about how great Luka Modrić was. Not because Luka Modrić was better than any other player in the World Cup, because they were running out of stars to praise when Messi and Ronaldo were kicked out. I'm just absolutely shocked. I do not think Luka Modrić is a bad player. Matter of fact, I think he's a solid, sound defensive player. But he also, all of his success that he had was based around a solid defense, so he never had to fully go back into the defense. He had stout center backs on both Real Madrid and Croatia, as well as, even in the World Cup, he had Ivan Rakitic to be able to play basically defensive mid, and he could push forward. Yes, he ran all the time. Yes, he worked hard. There's a lot of players that work hard. There's a lot of players that run the pace of the field nonstop. But to win a Ballon d'Or with 3 goals and 8 assists, with only 3 man of the matches for the entire season, seems a little bit like they didn't want to vote for other people. I know it's hard to say, but it sounds like they wanted to break the Messi and Ronaldo duo for 10 years. And at 33 years old, Modric's not going to be able to win again. And at 33 years old, with Ronaldo going through all of his legal issues as far as they don't want to dampen any of their momentum and any of the prestige of the event. In that top 5, I see 5 other people who deserve to win it over Luka Modrić for a multitude of reasons. And Luka Modrić didn't have a good league, right? The primary portion of his season was in La Liga, in his league play. He did not have a good year. Real Madrid did not do well when it came to game in, game out throughout the season. They fell off quite a few points down from Barcelona in their league play. Yes, they won Champions League, barely scraping by. And then he goes to World Cup to lose the World Cup final. So you would think there would be some intangible items that boasted him above others, but instead, 3 goals, 8 assists, and a 2nd place trophy in the World Cup is enough to get the Ballon d'Or. Hard for me to take the Ballon d'Or serious anymore. Let me know what you think, guys. I know I already did one of these, but I'm thinking more and more about it. I'm trying to find a way to make this vote work, and I can't find a single way.